Now, there's an article in the American Liberty News, headline, "The NGO Laundromat, How Federal Funds Flow to Politicians' Relatives." Have you noticed that people like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, all condemn the alleged influence of billionaires on the Republican Party, always condemning tax cuts as benefiting the rich? Notice they don't say jack about NGOs. Article says that there's a seldom discussed phenomenon. Members of Congress, particularly Democrats, enriching themselves not through direct bribes or graft, but through non-governmental organizations that receive federal grants and funding from major Democrat donors, the kind of funding that otherwise would have to be revealed. Consider a Democrat House member named Angie Craig from Minnesota. Her spouse, Cheryl Green, serves as the director of the Human Rights Campaign. That's an NGO getting a boatload of money from government and from Democratic mega donors. Stephen Lynch, Democrat, Massachusetts, whose wife, Margaret Lynch, directs the South Boston Community Center, also thrives on a steady stream of government grants. Representative Don Bayer, Democrat, Virginia, whose spouse, Megan, sits on the board of the Global Women's Leadership Initiative, an NGO that gets plenty of public and private money. Hakeem Jeffries, who is the minority leader in the House. His wife is employed by Union 1199 SEIU's benefit fund. Representative Pramila Jayapal from Washington, Democrat, married to Stephen Williamson, executive director of Essential Workers for Democracy, an NGO whose very existence depends upon getting money from the public on policies that his wife champions in Congress. Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat, Colorado, married to Susan Daggett, who sits on the board of Smart Growth America, organization that benefits from federal housing and HUD development policies. Mark Warner's wife, he's a Democrat from Virginia. Lisa Collins founded the Collis Warner Foundation, philanthropic entity, also getting money. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat from Rhode Island, always talking about the influence of corporate influence of money, has a wife, Sandra Whitehouse, who serves as a senior policy advisor for the Ocean Conservancy. That's an NGO that benefits from Democrat climate policies. Which brings us to Elon Musk's DOGE. He examined some of the financial relationships between members of Congress and these NGOs. He found improper payments, wasteful grants, NGOs receiving federal money, often functioning less as charitable enterprises and more as conduits to get money to politicians. Elon Musk talked about this on the Joe Rogan podcast, number 46.
It's a gigantic scam, like one of the biggest, maybe the biggest scam ever.
And how many NGOs?
I think there's a total number of NGOs, probably millions, but in terms of large NGOs, tens of thousands. I mean, it's actually it's kind of a hack to the system where someone can get an NGO stood up for a fairly small amount of money. Like George Soros was really good at this. Like George Soros is like a system hacker. Like he figured out how to hack the system. He's a genius at arbitrage. I mean, these days he's pretty old, but a genius at arbitrage. So he figured out that you could leverage a small amount of money to create a nonprofit, then lobby the politicians to send a ton of money to that nonprofit, so you can take what might be, a $10 million donation to a nonprofit to create a nonprofit and leverage that into $1 billion NGO. And a nonprofit is a weird word. It's just a non-governmental organization, and then the government continues to fund that every year, and it'll have a nice sounding name, like the Institute for Peace or something like that. but really it's a graft machine.
And what are their
And-
requirements with that money? What do they have to do?
Just really no requirements at all.
So they just get grants and the government just assumes that they're doing good work.
I think a lot of people in the government know that they're not doing good work.
And he told Joe Rogan that by uncovering all of this stuff, frankly, he's afraid for his life. Number 47.
It's more than just insider trading. Like the insider trading stuff, like the stock portfolio stuff is quite trackable, but it's a lot more than insider trading.
The way they're acquiring wealth.
Correct.
And what other methods?
I mean, this is really going to get me assassinated. It's like I'm not lengthening my lifespan by explaining this stuff, to say the least. I mean, I was supposed to go back to DC. How am I going to survive? They're going to kill me for sure. In fact, I do think like it's like I actually have to be careful that I don't push too hard on the corruption stuff because it's going to get me killed. Yeah, it's like I was actually thinking about that on the plane flight over here. It's like if I push too hard on the corruption stuff, people get desperate.
Listen to this NBC San Antonio investigation, number 32.
Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, has targeted a nonprofit based here in San Antonio, saying its contract for $215 million a year is canceled. News 4 San Antonio I-Team Waste Watch reporter Jay Avila has this story live from the Content Center.
Mandy, in a post on X, DOGE said the Department of Health and Human Services had terminated a contract paying Family Endeavors $18 million a month to operate an empty facility in West Texas.
The organization is also known as Endeavors, and you may have seen its administrative headquarters and wellness center on De Zavala Road, where it has a cluster of buildings and storefronts. DOGE focused on an overflow housing facility for migrant families Endeavors operates in Pecos, Texas, which DOGE says has been sitting empty, while Endeavors has been receiving the $18 million per month. Homeland Security reposted DOGE's X post, tagging U.S. Attorney Ed Martin with the words, "Please investigate."
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.